The correction came during a tour of a Viking museum in Oslo. The Norwegian guide mentioned that Viking helmets did not have horns. An American tourist loudly cleared his throat. Actually, that's a common misconception that you guys have. They did have horns. It's a historical fact. I've seen it in every movie and cartoon. It was for intimidation. You should probably update your museum displays to be more accurate. He was explaining to a Thai chef that his food was too spicy. This is delicious, the tourist said, sweating. But you're using way too much chili. Let me tell you, if you opened a restaurant in America and served it this hot, you'd go out of business. You need to have a mild option for people with normal taste buds. In a market in India, an American was explaining the principles of sales to a spice vendor. You shouldn't have all these open sacks of spices, he advised. It's unsanitary. You should package them in small, sealed plastic jars with professional-look labels, and you need to have a fixed price. This haggling thing is bad for business. You need to build brand trust. He tried to teach a group of Finns how to use a sauna. Okay, first rule, you need to be wearing swim trunks. It's a hygiene issue, he instructed. Second, it's way too hot in here. You should turn it down. And whatever you do, don't throw water on the rocks. At my gym in Ohio, that would set off the fire alarm. He was explaining sauna safety to the people who invented the entire concept. The lecture on wine began in a vineyard in Bordeaux. An American tourist, after a tasting, cornered the French winemaker. Let me give you some advice, he said. You're focusing too much on these dry reds. The American market, which is your biggest, loves sweet wines. If you just added a little more sugar, maybe some fruit flavoring, you could create a Bordeaux fusion or something. You have to adapt to the consumer's palate. He was earnestly explaining market trends to a man whose family had been making world-renowned wine for 12 generations. An American was explaining to a Swiss watchmaker why his business model was obsolete. This is a beautiful watch, and he said, but my Apple Watch can do 100 more things. It tells me the weather. It tracks my steps. You guys are selling a single-function device. You should pivot to smart watches. You have the brand recognition. You just need to get with the 21st century. Let me explain your own mythology to you, an American began, talking to a Greek guide at the Acropolis. Zeus and all those guys on Mount Olympus. It's basically the first superhero universe like Marvel. Zeus is Thor. Hades is the villain. It's a shame you guys never made any big budget movies about it. We had to do it for you. You're sitting on a gold mine of intellectual property. He was explaining to a Jamaican musician that reggae music could be improved. I love the rhythm, the tourist said, but it's a little slow. You should try speeding it up. Maybe add some electronic beats. You could create a whole new genre like reggaeton or techno reggae. You have to evolve the sound to stay relevant. In a clothing store in Milan, an American was giving fashion advice to the Italian shop assistant. These suits are beautifully made, he conceded, but the cut is too slim. In America, we prefer a more classic, comfortable fit, more room in the shoulders. You know, you guys are all about fashion, but you forget about practicality. A suit should be comfortable, not just stylish. An American was explaining the flaws of the Japanese writing system to a local on the train. You have 3 different alphabets. It's so confusing. Why don't you just pick one, or better yet, switch to the Roman alphabet like the rest of the modern world? It would make it so much easier for foreigners to do business here. It's just a simple matter of efficiency. The culinary advice was offered in a small restaurant in Bangkok. This pad thai is amazing, the tourist said to the chef, but you're missing a key ingredient. Ketchup. Let me explain. The sweetness and acidity of ketchup perfectly balances the savory noodles. In the US, all the best Thai restaurants serve it with ketchup on the side. You should try it. It would elevate your dish to the next level. He was trying to teach a Thai chef that the secret to their national dish was a mass-produced American condiment. In Vienna, an American was explaining to an Austrian that their famous composer was overrated. Mozart was a genius. Sure, Benmetu, he said, but his music is too complicated. It's not catchy. You can't hum it. A good song needs a hook. That's basic songwriting. He should have written more pop-friendly tunes. The conversation in the Irish pub was about language. An Irish local mentioned he spoke some Gaelic. The American tourist corrected him. You mean Gaelic? It's pronounced Gaelic. I know because my great-grandmother was Irish and she taught me some words. The local just sighed into his pint and said, Right you are, lad. What would we know? An American was explaining to a Canadian how to be more patriotic. You guys are too low-key about your country. He said, you need more flags, bigger flags. You need a national anthem that's more epic. You have to show your pride. Look at us. We're the best at being patriotic. And you could learn a lot from our example. She was explaining to a Dutch city planner why their infrastructure was all wrong. You have too many canals and not enough highways, she said. And everyone is on a bicycle. It's so primitive. You need to invest in a proper multi-lane freeway system so people can get around efficiently in cars. That's how a modern economy moves. He was explaining to a monk in Nepal that his meditation practice was inefficient. Sitting in silence for hours is a waste of time. She said, there are apps for that now. You can do a guided 10-minute meditation and get the same benefits. You have to leverage technology. It's about meditating smarter, not harder. He was explaining to a matador in Spain why bullfighting was outdated. Look, I get the tradition, the American said, but it's not humane. You know what you should do? Replace the bull with a guy in a bull costume or a robot. You'd get the same spectacle, but no one gets hurt. It would be much more palatable for a modern, sensitive audience. Your coffee is wrong, an American tourist told the owner of a small cafe in Ethiopia. The literal birthplace of coffee. You're supposed to use a French press or a drip machine. This ceremony with the pan and the coals takes forever, and the coffee is too strong. You should offer a light roast and some flavored creamers. You have to cater to modern tastes. In a pub in London, an American was explaining to a Brit how to make tea. You're doing it all wrong, bro, he said, watching the man put milk in his cup. You're supposed to use hot water and a tea bag. That's it. This milk thing just dilutes the flavor, and you should be drinking iced tea anyway. It's much more refreshing. In a New Zealand pub, an American was explaining the Lord of the Rings films to a group of Kiwis. You guys are so lucky that Hollywood chose your country for the movie. He said, it really put you on the map. Before that, most people in America just thought you were part of Australia. Our film industry basically created your tourism industry. The lecture on cheese etiquette happened in a French restaurant. An American told the waiter, you're serving the cheese course all wrong. It's supposed to come before the meal as an appetizer with crackers. Not after dinner like a dessert. I know my food, and that's the proper way to do it. The French waiter simply replied, not in France, monsieur. She was explaining to a Peruvian woman how to properly weave a blanket. The patterns are beautiful, the tourist said, but the material is too scratchy. You should use synthetic fleece. It's softer and machine washable, and you could use brighter neon colors. You have to think about what the modern consumer wants in a home decor product. He was trying to explain the concept of freedom to a German. I know you guys have a democracy now, the American said, but you don't have true freedom. You can't just buy a gun at a supermarket. Your speech is limited. In America, I can say whatever I want, wherever I want. That's what being free is really about. The German just nodded and said, we tried that unlimited freedom thing once. It did not end well for anyone. It was a bold move to try and explain tacos to a street vendor in Mexico City. These are great, the tourist said, holding up an al pastor taco. But they're not authentic. An authentic taco has a hard, crunchy shell that you can buy in a box. And you should use ground beef and that bright orange shredded cheese. This soft corn thing is more like a wrap. He was describing a Taco Bell kit as the pinnacle of Mexican cuisine. You're celebrating it on the wrong day. He confidently informed a group of Irish people in a Dublin pub on St. Patrick's Day. They stared at him, pints frozen midair. He continued, in America, We celebrated on the weekend closest to the 17th. It's a big party day. You guys are doing it on a Tuesday? You get way more tourists and sell more beer if you made it a weekend festival. You have to think about the commercial logistics. He was explaining to the Irish how to properly celebrate their own patron saint. He was explaining to a group of Maasai warriors in Kenya how they could improve their famous jumping ritual. The jumping is very impressive, he said through a translator, but it's not a sport. You should formalize it. Have a measuring stick, judges, and a scoreboard. You could have a Maasai Olympics and sell tickets. You have to turn your culture into a marketable event. He was trying to apply the principles of ESPN to a centuries-old cultural ceremony. Her advice to the Swiss train conductor was delivered with a tone of helpful concern. Your trains are incredibly punctual. I'll give you that, she said, but they're too quiet. Let me explain something about the customer experience. The silence is unsettling. You should have some light, upbeat music playing over the speakers. And the conductor should make cheerful announcements every 10 minutes, pointing out landmarks. You need to create a more engaging and friendly atmosphere. She was trying to redesign the famously efficient and peaceful Swiss rail system into a theme park. Ride. Let me explain something about your history. An American tourist said to a beefeater at the Tower of London, "You guys think you have this long, impressive history, but America is actually older." The beefeater looked baffled. The tourist continued, "Our ideals of democracy and freedom are based on ancient Greek and Roman principles, which are way older than the British monarchy. So, philosophically, our country is more ancient than yours." The beefeater just blinked, his mind clearly struggling to process this level of mental gymnastics. He was explaining to a Russian man in Moscow how to handle the cold. "You guys think you know winter," he said, "but you don't have lake effect snow like we do in Buffalo. You need to layer with a fleece and Gore-Tex. This big fur hat thing is just for show. It's all about modern material science, not old-fashioned tradition." In Cairo, an American was explaining to an Egyptian guide how the pyramids were actually built. "I know you guys have your theories," he said, "but it was obviously aliens. There's no way humans could have built these things with ancient tools. I saw a documentary about it on the History Channel. You should really incorporate that into your official tours. It's what the people want to hear. You guys are so proud of your football." An American tourist announced in a crowded Manchester pub during a match, "But let me explain what real sport is. It's about explosive plays, strategy, and commercials. This is just a bunch of guys running around for 45 minutes with no breaks. You should have 4 quarters, a halftime show, and way more padding. It would be a much better entertainment product." He was explaining how to improve the world's most popular sport to its most passionate fans. An American was explaining to an Icelandic person that their belief in elves was silly. "It's a cute folktale," he said, "but you can't seriously let it affect construction projects. That's just superstition. In America, we believe in science and progress, not fairy tales." The Icelander just smiled and said, "And yet the bulldozer broke down, didn't it?" The chocolatier in Brussels listened with a pained expression as the American woman explained his craft to him. "Your chocolate is very high quality. I'll give you that," she said. "But it's too intense. The American palate prefers a milder, sweeter milk chocolate like Hershey's. That's the flavor profile of happiness. If you just use less cacao and more sugar, you could be a global brand." The discussion on democracy took place in Athens. An American was explaining to a Greek citizen, "You guys invented democracy, which is cool, but you never perfected it. We did. Let me explain. We added a system of checks and balances, a Bill of Rights, and a strong executive branch. You had the beta version, but we released the final product. You should really study our Constitution to see how it's supposed to be done." He was lecturing a Greek on the finer points of democracy at the foot of the Acropolis.